Good morning, Advanced Organizational Management students. Hope everyone is having a good weekend and happy Father's Day. So it is June 19th, 2022, and we are wrapping up week 3, so make sure just to get that wrapped up. And again, I'll try to have everything graded for week 3 by Tuesday evening. So uh, for this coming week, week 4, continue with your personal inventory assessment. You're going to be doing with gaining power and influence and choosing between poor performance and enhancing motivation. Continue with your chapter readings. We make a switch this week. I like to think of it as we go more from kind of the micro working as a manager to now. I think it's the more exciting stuff to me personally is about the strategy, competitive advantage, uh, how to add value as a firm. So in your readings this week, you're also going to read about execution and some different case studies, but continue with that. And then again, based on the prompt and the forum discussion in your readings, answer that question, and then you'll have a application assignment. So then again, start thinking about those later projects, especially the one week 6. I made some slight edits to that to make it a little bit easier for you, but just basically you're going to do a PowerPoint that you upload and the executive summary. I'll go into more details of that in later weeks. So with this week, I kind of wanted to go over some of the main components of the readings. As I said, I switched from, we make the switch here, going more from a lot of the managerial applications, the one-on-ones, to being part of that strategic plan for the firms. And a lot of it, the reading kind of starts off with is, how is your firm creating economic value? One of the forum discussion posts that I really enjoy the forum discussion posts. It's great that I'm able to interact with you all and learn from you all. We learn from each other. But I remember Lisa talking about her small community bank becoming a large, $20 billion bank. So how did that happen? Obviously, there had to be execution, having some type of comparative or competitive advantages that they saw in the market, and they made it happen. So a lot of this is thinking about for your organization or any future organization you will work for. Markets are changing all the time, and technology changes all the time. My father-in-law from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, was here this weekend for a memorial service, and I always love talking to him because he always has great examples. He graduated from Yale and went to work for U.S. Steel and saw a lot of transitions, closed a lot of plants. But one of the examples that he pointed out to me, like a mini case study, if you will, he said that the steel beams, most homes, we just have wood beams in them as support structure. But even though the steel beam would probably be a much superior product, he gave the example, I think in 91 when Hurricane Andrew came through, they had one house that stood in place, and that was because it had steel beams in it. And they said, aha, here's an opportunity to kind of show the world that people need to make a switch from their homes from using just the traditional wood studs to the steel studs. But he said what they didn't factor in was the power of the carpenters kind of lobbying. And he said, I think he used the word, fail to put the hammer down, but he goes, you could easily put wires through and everything else, but you put the drywall on, it'd be a superior product. And the U.S. still had great ideas to make this happen and see an opportunity, but it never came to fruition. So it probably would still be better off to have steel beams in the homes today. You see it in some larger construction, you'll see the steel beams put in, but it has never taken on from the U.S. household perspective. But I asked him, is it still cheaper? He goes, well, although wood's gone up, steel has gone up in price too. So anyway, it's a little aside there, but it was a good example, kind of thinking about how, as a firm, the technology, what advantages you have to try to take advantage of that market situation. And the early chapter 1, kind of goes into the SWOT. I kind of mentioned the previous week, you should always do a pestle before you do a SWOT: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. But the first part, the strengths and weakness, look at the internal of the institution or the firm, and the opportunities, threats, looking at the external. So with this, in chapter 2, you start to look at that external environment. I think of this more as like economics micro 101. You're looking at market structures, you're looking at the competition. How are you going to make profit in that different market structure? But what puts you out there to make yourself unique? Because there's a lot of competing products, and the textbook talked about parity, that you may have an advantage at some point, but eventually people are pretty smart and they're going to try to imitate that and move into the market and do the same thing. So you're probably just going to be making a normal economic profit. For those, if you remember back in your economics courses, that normal profit was the point that we're covering both our explicit and our implicit opportunity cost. So what is the required rate of return in this particular type of industry or business, whether it be 8%, 10%, whatever, to the investors. So, but again, you're going to be looking at such things as this week in the readings about resource-based view, application assignment, the value, rarity, the ability to imitate that product and organization. And I think that's really the core of this course is like the policies and procedures, human resources, and leadership. How are you recognizing, hey, that there's an opportunity here, or there's not an opportunity. Sometimes it's just to get out gracefully, try to capture as much as that value as you can, because things change. I've seen changes in higher education. One of the big changes that we saw during COVID is a lot more of our students wanted to go online like we are like this. They said, hey, you know what? I don't have to go drive out to the campus, and I've got kids at home, and I can still get an education, and I don't have to worry about spending a lot of gas driving back and forth each day. So all community colleges, I work at a community college, and we've seen enrollment decline by a fifth overall, but also we've seen transition that they went more virtual or they went more online. So what are we doing as a college, and who are the colleges that are going to be out there in the forerunners to utilize their resources and be quick to move and become that first mover advantage to say, hey, we are the place that you need to be, because now you can go to community college anywhere in the United States. So the pricing might be different if depending on where you live in the state, but at least regionally within a state, you might have a lot of choices. But someone in the military that's overseas might say, hey, I'm a resident of this state, I can take advantage of it. And there's a lot of competition out there, at least virtually. So, and the last thing I'll just kind of wrap up for this week is that concept of the value chain. I really like the example, one of the case studies within the textbook. It mentioned about these researchers at MIT that went out and looked at all these manufacturing of sedans and all the different auto manufacturers throughout the world, and sure, there's product differentiation between different types of sedans. But why did 6 out of 70 of them had low cost and also high quality and a high product that was in great demand? And some of the things they mentioned ties into those human resources and leadership. It said that they allowed employees to participate in decision making, allowed them to engage in quality circles, the emphasis on team production, employee loyalty and commitment, and the idea that they felt that they were treated fairly, that the employees felt that they were treated fairly. So a lot of that has to deal with why people feel valued in a firm and why they're willing maybe to put in the extra effort, that they see what they're doing adds a lot of value, and that kind of goes back to the idea of leadership. But you're going to read a lot about interesting case studies in the book. I like the one about Southwest too, how they only decided to go with the 737, to give themselves a competitive advantage, because then they only had to service one type of plane. Their mechanics were familiar with that. They went to low-cost routes. So you're going to read a lot about these success stories, but you're also going to read about things that didn't go well. And one I can think of recently past years was GE. I mean, GE used to be a giant, but just got too complex. I don't know if it was lazy or did not recognize market opportunities properly, and stock price just plummeted. So there's questions even today, about Netflix. As they saw a huge growth industry in that field. I guess whatever that thing is, the family likes to watch. Well, we watch the Stranger Things once in a while. I've only watched one episode, but is that going to save them or not save them? So all this competition started to move in. Disney Plus, Amazon, Apple, and they're trying to prevent people from sharing those IDs and passwords. But nevertheless, it's that they had an advantage for a while, and now they're seeing a lot of competition. So how do you maintain that? How do you keep the loyal customers like me that will always watch a little bit of Netflix? But knowing that now that prices are going way up, inflation overall, that's another scary part to kind of wrap up this week, is that there's going to be some tough choices ahead. And my feeling is the Fed waited way too long to raise interest rates, and we are coming to recession. So there's going to be some firms impacted, employees impacted, unfortunately. But which are the firms that are going to survive, and which one the ones going to thrive? But still, for now, I went out to eat with the father-in-law, took him out to Jose Peppers. That place was packed. So people have not changed their behaviors yet, but trust me, the reality is going to hit soon, and people are going to start consuming certain goods and services. These interest rates really start to skyrocket to tame inflation. So, and of course, if you've been following the market has not been doing well either at all. So it's kind of hard to stomach those losses on paper. So anyway, I look forward to talking to you online this week. Again, if you do have any questions, do email me, and I will talk to you soon. Take care and have a great week.